meaning and scope of history. It may be studied as understanding of history. Or it is otherwise known as historical literacy. In this context, we must have to know at first about what is history. History is a very important subject. And in history, we must have to know basic things of history at first. What is history? What is history? Generally means the past stories of the people. But for a scholar, for a history student, it is something special, something different. For a scholar or for a student, history means the chronological records of important events of the human beings. And the matter is important to the human beings. It must be important one, because every events, every happenings can't be recorded. It is only the duty of a scholar, duty of an historian is to record the important events. For example, important events, kings, queens, wars, then your different treaties, different activities of the human beings which are relating to the life, culture, society and other aspects of the human beings which should be studied by our successor later on. And the best example of history is given by E.H. Carr in his book What is History? It is an important book written by E.H. Carr, one of the eminent historian. And in that book we find the definition you may see, history is an unending dialogue between past and present. It is an unending dialogue, never ending dialogue, you may say. What is all the things we are doing in this world are followed by one events. We are doing one events or one happenings every time. And if you connect all those events one after another, suppose one event plus another one event plus another one event, in this way you have to connect and you have to form one story called history. And the basic things of the history is it must be true one. So historians generally construct history or make one history or write history with some sort of rules and regulations. Each and every regulations, each and every rules for the writings of history may be known as historiography, or you can say writing of history is known as historiography, or history of history is known as historiography. How to write history is known as historiography. And here one must have to go through the sources before writing history or before understanding history. You can know detail about history if you know sources of history. Sources is otherwise known as data. Sources are the ABC of history. It is otherwise known as the backbone of history. Without history, you can't write a single sentence about history. So what is sources? Sources means the materials, artifacts or the goods which are helpful for the historians to reconstruct the history, for the writing of the history. Here there are two type of sources. One is your primary sources and another one is your secondary sources. Primary sources means those sources which are under the direct touch of the person concerned. Those materials, those products which are direct contact with the person of that period is called primary sources. For example, we may take the example of freedom movement. Suppose there were Mahatma Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose, and many more freedom fighters. Those freedom fighters were writing diaries or daily notes. If someone is going to write about freedom movement, then that person must have to look at those diaries, and those diaries are direct sources. But what is secondary sources? Suppose someone has written one book about freedom movement. One historian already written a book. And if you studied that book for half an hour or 1 hour and collect some data out of those studied, that is called secondary sources. Directly collected data is primary sources. Indirectly collected data are secondary sources. And in this way, we find so many sources at a time. But the main duties of a scholar or main duties of a historians is to assemble all those, gather all those data in a place. And that persons have to analyze those data, or that persons have to scatter those data and find two types of data. Some data are false data. Another data are correct data. And historians have to delete, or you may say avoid those false data and accept those correct data. Historians' work is to accept those correct data and start writing about history with a method. There are so many methods of writing history, and if you don't understand this common concept of history, you cannot go through the history writing. You must have to understand first about what is archaeology. Archaeology means what? Archaeology means the materials which are found from the earth, either from surface or from the ground. This is called archaeology. Archaeology are of three kinds. Suppose one is your inscription, coins and monuments. Inscription means what? Those plates or those you may say those tablets, your copper plates, rock, your edict. These are the inscriptions. Inscriptions means the study of inscription is known as epigraphy, and you must have to know about epigraphy for the making of history. Then come to numismatics. Numismatics means the study of coins. In the past, we have found so many coins, gold coins, silver coins, then copper coins, and so on. Those copper coins, gold coins, silver coins must be studied, and you will find many trustworthy data about past.